Welcome to the Coach Speak podcast, built for coaches, by coaches, hosted by Jamie Bolton and Dustin Martin. Sponsored by Ray Crowther, providing the nation's best athletic training equipment since 1932. And R4 Football Systems. Accelerate everything by decoding the game.
Hey guys, welcome back to Coach Speak. Dustin Martin here with Jamie Bolton. A special episode tonight. We have the legendary Coach Mazzone on, and Jamie's going to tell you what we're going to get into. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors, Tsunami Bar Sports and Team Builder.
Yeah, guys, we are so excited to have Coach Noel Mazzone on. He's a longtime OC and quarterback coach across college, NFL, spring leagues. Been in Minnesota, Ole Miss, Auburn, Oregon State, NC State. Obviously, Coach Phillip Rivers there. Arizona State with Brock Osweiler. UCLA with Brent Hundley. He had crazy numbers, as well as Josh Rosen. Texas A&M, Arizona, and then in the NFL as a wide receiver coach for the Jets, and most recently in the UFL with the Memphis Showboats. He's the OC and quarterback coach, known for the up-tempo NZone system and practical carry less, execute more approach. Coach Mazzone, so awesome to have you on, man.
Hey, it's good to talk to guys from back in the Carolinas. Excited.
Awesome, Coach. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and get into it. Coach, the NZone system has been called, simple to learn and hard to defend. What's the biggest mistake that you see coaches making trying to be multiple?
Okay, so so I'm not very smart, right? So I got to, the genius of any system is the simplicity of the system, right? So we get caught up, and here's what I see has happened is there used to be triple digit system, West Coast system, and you learned the system. But nowadays, young this is just my opinion, right? Nowadays, you young guys, you have access to so much information. It's crazy. Back when I started coaching, if I wanted to get information, I'd have to get in a car and drive 5 hours to some clinic somewhere and sit in the front row and take notes, right? There was none of the all the huddle in the social media. You go on social media and it's like you can watch 1,000 plays on social media. So I think that's got good stuff and bad stuff to it, right? Because all of a sudden there's a million great football plays out there. All right. And so what I know, I don't want anybody to do. What you don't need to do is run the best 50 plays of football. Okay. Because now you're just guessing. Right. And there's no system. So I think don't be a guy that calls play, be a guy that calls plays, be a play caller. And so I'm into the old adage, and I know you probably see me say this before, is that I'm in the old Bruce Lee deal, right? I fear not the man who practices 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times, right? So I want to practice my kicks 10,000 times. And so I think, I don't mean to drag this point on, but I think what happens is if you have a lot of different schemes, a lot of different plays, right, you kind of are good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you have to have answers to every one of those plays. What happens if I practice all week against a 4-down front and all of a sudden these suckers show up in 3-down, right? Well, I have all these schemes that now I've had to have practiced against 3-down. And I don't want to play defense on offense. So I always want to be attacking the defense. And I think when you run a lot of schemes, I think you have to build an audible system, right? Because if I'm running gap schemes and I only want to run to the 3 technique, and all of a sudden there's a 7 technique, so there's all these different variables, right? Well, now I need to check that to stretch weak or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to live in that world. So I came to this conclusion a few years back, Jamie and Dustin. Dustin's a defensive dude, so we're really not talking to him.
That's
okay?
right. That's right. He's in the background.
Started offense, Coach. I started on offense. Yeah. I started offense.
So this is when I kind of started sleeping better at night, is when I accepted the fact that sometimes the defense wins. All right. Sometimes they're going to get me into a bad play. So, all right, well, they get coached too. They got good coaches. They get paid over there the same like I do. All right. So I just want my guys to have the answers to all the questions of the test on every play that I have in my game plan.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I agree with you, Coach. I'm gonna go defense since you love defense so much. But I'm a big Saban smart study guy, like Glenn Schumann. I study the Sabanese, and there's a lot to the flex 7 or the mint 4 world. Like there's about 17 different ways you can play man match or zone match quarters. And what I've learned is it's not about going out there and running all of them. It's understanding and diving into why are they running these specific ones at these specific times. You may see it and go, oh, I need to put that in, but you may not understand that they're running it that week because of the offensive coordinator and what style of maybe smash they run or what it may be. So to your point, I agree. You can get paralysis by analysis with so much scheme out there these days. And something I try to do is let's find one and then let me talk to a bunch of smarter coaches than I am. Hey, why do they run it this way? What is the technique? What's the eye control? Not, hey, I saw them run this play. I'm going to put it in and we're going to run it because I don't know the reasoning why they ran it. So I'm
Exactly. And
totally
if
in
you don't
alignment.
know it, your kids don't know it,
Exactly.
right?
And they
Why
can
are you
sense that
why are
too.
you pressing the boundary corner in some cover 4 schemes,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Why are
Yeah, and
you?
then you won't have confidence going in too. I think that's the thing. Like if I feel confident that week, it's probably because I know it and our kids know it. And it's something that we can execute against multiple things like odd front, even front, quarters, cover 6, whatever the case may be. But yeah, guys, before we get into segment 1, this episode of Coach Speak with Noel Mazzone is brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sports. Coach Mazzone's whole career has been about creating tempo and efficiency, keeping things simple, fast, and effective. That's exactly what Tsunami Bar Sports brings to the weight room. The flex and isolation of the Tsunami Bar forces athletes to stabilize and move with intent. Just like Coach teaches his quarterbacks to progress quickly through reads, the Tsunami Bar trains your athletes to fire fast, be explosive, and stay under control. If you're building game speed strength, this is the tool. Check them out at tsunamibarsports.com and let them know that Coach Speak sent you. Tsunami Bar Sports, feel the flex, build the power. You guys reach out to Chad Smith. He's great. Thanks, Tsunami Bar Sports. But yeah, segment 1, Coach. Just talking really through your whole career, you've had a long career, been multiple places. What's one lesson you took from coaching, let's say Phillip Rivers at NC State, that maybe still lives with the way that you coach quarterbacks now?
So, Philip, I coached him 1 year, and what's so funny is I was the offensive coordinator. Norm Chow called me. I showed up there like a day before spring ball. Norm Chow took the Tennessee Titans job, and I was actually with Coach Erickson at the time at Oregon State, and Coach Erickson bounced to the 49ers, couldn't take me with him. So I'm sitting around the house. Norm says, I'm going to Titans. You want to come out and be the offensive coordinator at NC State? I said, yeah, sign me up. I'm in. Next day I'm on a plane. I fly out there, and it was like, God smiled on me that day, that season, right? Because I show up and there's this kid named Phillip Rivers. Now, I'm going to tell you a real quick story about Rivers, okay? Because 3 years before that, I was at Auburn, right? So Coach Tubbs and I, there's this quarterback free safety up in Athens, Alabama. So Coach Tubbs and I, whose dad, who loved Auburn, I think his dad, Steve, his dad, that's where the kid wanted to go. So we jump on a plane and we go watch Phillip play, right? In Athens, Alabama one night. So we're watching him and he's playing, he's a football player, number one. He's not pigeonholed in like the guys now, right? Oh, you're a dual threat quarterback. You're a drop back. He was a ball player. He's playing free safety. He's on special teams, and he's back there and he's playing quarterback. And Tubbs is, what do you think? I go, well, you want this guy on your team because he's a football player. Is he a quarterback? I don't know. That throwing motion is kind of goofy, that whole thing, right? So I go, well, we need to. Well, Tubbs said, well, let's offer him. We need to offer him. Okay. Well, what do you think? Well, I was recruiting. I had at that point, I think Jason Campbell or somebody. So I was recruiting another couple quarterbacks. I actually liked his quarterbacks better. I said, yeah, let's offer him. I said, but I don't want to scare off those other guys. Let's offer him, all right, as a tight end. So I am here to announce to the world, this is what a great evaluator I am of quarterbacks, okay? That in high school, I sat in Phillip and Steve's office after the game with Tuberville, and we offered Phillip a scholarship to Auburn as a tight end, all right? Now, the guy's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and that's that. that's my expertise in evaluating quarterbacks, right? And
That's
so
awesome.
fast forward like 3 years later, by the luck of the draw, I come rolling into NC
Wow.
State, and who's the quarterback? Philip Rivers, right?
That's
And
amazing.
he is laughing his ass off. And he asked me, he goes, Coach, do I need to go down and see the equipment guy and change my number from 17 to 87? Because you're gonna move me to tight end, right? I go, yeah, you smart ass. No, that didn't
Yeah.
happen. All right. So we end up that year, actually ended up the number one offense in the country that year at NC State, right?
That's wild.
With Philip. But what I learned about Philip was that, which I believe, and I preach it to this day, right? Is that you win the game on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because he shows up every day, and he is one of the most competitive players I've ever had. And I've had a lot of them. All right. And he comes to practice every day, and it is full go, excited, energy. I mean, it's exactly what you see on TV, right? He is that
Right.
guy. He is that guy every day. And if you don't show up the same way, he's going to let you know it. Okay. So I
Ultimate
learned,
leader.
yeah, what an awesome leader for your football team, for the coaching staff, for everybody. And, 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 and so I'll tell you what, if we got time for another quick Philip Rivers
Oh
story,
yeah.
favorite one.
100%. Plenty of
Absolutely.
time.
So basically, when I get there, this is where Norm Chow, who is basically 2-man snag, 3-man snag, right? He called it scat. But everybody knows Exxon Chevron, 2-man snag, which I've been running ever since, okay, 2003. Well, Norm Chow, that's a BYU. BYU played big with Doug Scoville and Lavelle Edwards. Well, when I got there, Philip had been running for 3 years. So Philip knew it better than anybody, right? So he comes into about mid-season, he comes in, we used to get in like two back slot and run 2-man stag in the boundary. And then he had like some sort of a sail concept to the field, right? Cover three beater to the 2-man snag. If it was split safety deal, he's going to, we had some 2-beater to the other side. He comes in, he says, Coach, I don't even know if Philip remembers this. He comes in, he goes, Coach, I want to run double. We called it scat back then. I want to run 50 double scat. I want you to give me snag, swing on this side, hot back. I want to go snag, swing on this side. We had this little receiver named Jericho Cotry, right?
Oh yeah.
And I want you to run a post over the top to my double snag. And so I'm like, Philip, that is not going to work. You're going to have a hot on both sides. You can't look hot, so I'm going through this whole thing. Like, that's like the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Okay. So he stays on me. It's Philip, right? So I go, okay, we'll put it in. All right. It was green, 50 double scat. All right. X post. Okay. So we put it in. So we were playing North Carolina that week. So they kick off to us. I get the ball and I look at Phil. I go, what do you think? And he looks at me and smiles. I go, I know. You want green or blue, 50 double scat X post. He looks at me. He goes like that, right? So I go, okay, let me call this thing, get it out of the way, right? Because they're going to bring a hot from the side. He's not looking. Something's going to happen, right? They're going to bring it, and he's going to get ear hold, and I won't have to call it the rest of the game because I didn't like to play. Okay. Long story short, we go on the opening drive. We go on like an 8-play drive. So Philip's one of these guys. He catches it. He like simultaneously, the guy's catching it. He's looking at me on the sideline like, give me the next one. He's like this, right? Give it to me, right? And he's shaking his head, and I go, okay. So he calls 50. He goes green or blue, 50 double scat X or Z post. All right, 8 times in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Was 8 for 8. Same formation, same everything.
Wow.
8 for 8. Okay.
Ripping
They
it.
tried corner cat. They tried nickel. They tried fire zone. They went straight man. All right. He had the answer for everything, right? Goes down the last one. They went mad. He throws the post to Kotry, I think, for the touchdown, but 8 times in a row. So here's a
That's
kid that
wild.
whenever that whole season I did the numbers, all of our 2-man and 3-man scat game or snag game, he was an 88% completion guy. All right.
Wow.
So right there, I always think about that when I think about he could have called that play the whole game. and all because it wasn't about the scheme. It was about he understood the play so well, exactly like you're talking about your flex 7, whatever coverage. Your guys understand it so well. They have the answers to the test, right? No matter what test is thrown at them, they got the answers. So that was part of when I started thinking about, I'm not a high volume guy. I'm a high rep guy.
Yeah. No, Coach, that's my favorite Phillip Rivers moment. It's probably about 5-6 years ago, but he throws a 90-yard touchdown versus, I think it was the Jaguars, and he gets up and he's just celebrating to himself, and the D lineman actually helps him up, and he's like, "Hey man, don't do that, man!" And the ref's like, "Get the hell out of here!" Like, man. But like you said, you can tell the competitor he is.
Unbelievable.
When he's
outcompeted a lot of the society and how many kids he's got too.
Yeah, he's got like nine. I think he's got nine, or he just had 10 or whatever. Now his son, that's how old I'm getting, guys. Now his son Gunner is like a big recruit, a big quarterback.
Right.
That's how old I'm getting.
That's wild.
Those are some great stories, Coach. So, Coach, you've been at a lot of great places, from ASU to UCLA to A&M to Arizona. What do you think at all your stops has kind of been your core identity, either in offensive play calling or quarterback play? What do you think something that just has not changed across all the schools?
Well, so I'm not, I'm not a play reader. Like like my call sheet. I want to know my call sheet. So like some of the things I want to do, right? I call practice off my game call sheet. Okay. I don't script. I don't, I used to do it, but I stopped doing that. I don't script, sit in my office and, I'm on 3rd and medium. Let me call it, and write them all down and then just go down the list and call them off the sheet. Cause it don't happen like that in the game. Right. And so I want to know my call sheet well enough. So I actually have a practice call sheet where I call off my call sheet for the game. So I start to really get a feel for the game plan, for the plays, where they are on the call sheet, all those type of things. Right. And so, which really limits me. So, and then it also limits me to the amount of volume I've got. So a lot of times that thing is folded up and in my back pocket during the drive because I know what I want to call, right? So I'm not a change to play guy. I'm a change to presentation. All right. So if I'm going to throw 3-man snag, it's still 3-man snag. So I want to keep it as easy as I can. I'm always thinking, how do I keep it easy for the offensive line, and how do I keep it consistent for the quarterback? Right. I don't need him learning different progressions every week. Right. So now I can change the appearance of it, but if his narrow vision guy is the nickel, he's on this concept, it's always going to be the nickel. I can do it out 3x1, 2x2, motion to it, bunches, whatever. So I want to keep it consistent for the quarterback, his progressions, especially now. Like I started running RPO in 2009, right? That was before Collingsworth ever even knew what the word RPO was. Okay,
he's calling it play action.
Yeah, he calls it play action, right? Okay,
so annoying.
He still don't know what it is. But
so annoying.
Don't tell Chris I said that, right? He's awesome. But so I'm like wide vision, narrow vision guy, which basically I learned that whole concept from Brock when Brock was with Peyton and Peyton in Denver, right? About how it's wide vision, right? And then the wide vision tells you who's important to the play, and then you narrow vision the guy that's important to the play for a quarterback. So I coach off that kind of school of thought. Is like the more you see as a quarterback, the less you see as a quarterback, right? So you have to get rid of all the bells and whistles and all the distractions out there and understand the strong safety in cover 3 is the guy that's going to make you not throw the curl, right?
Correct.
And if you can't throw the curl and it's not the strong safety, then it's an inside back, so I want them to be able to water it down where they can play the game off of 1 or 2 guys, a first narrow vision guy and a second narrow vision guy.
I love that. And going from NFL, you got high school OC too, kind of in that stint, and then back to FBS. What concept, do you feel like you carry the same concepts for each quarterback? Have they been consistent, or do you really rely on, okay, this quarterback does this concept well, let's change the picture for this one? Has there been some consistency with all your quarterbacks on what they can do?
I mean, there's the core that's fairly, there's some of my tempo plays right now from 2000. If I called Brock and I asked him what LA Lakers meant, he would know what it means, right? So there's a core that they all run, but obviously it's a little bit different when when you got Brett Hundley at quarterback and you have Josh Rosen, right?
Okay.
So my real background from when I learned football back in the caveman days, right, was first offense I ever learned was Joe Gibbs, Washington Redskins back then, right? So I was, which was triple digit, right? Norv Turner, Ernie Zampese. So that's the first I learned, which was triple digit concepts, right? And then I got introduced to West Coast, so I got a lot of drive concepts, all right. And if you talk about triple digits, you're talking about timing. Like the ball's got to come out now. Okay. So like my quarterbacks, I call it IHO. Is he open? Like we don't wait for guys to get open. Your feet tell you when the ball's got to come out. And if he's not open, move on. Right.
Yep.
So I don't want guys waiting. So I've always been, that's kind of what I first learned was from that triple digit with Dan Fouts and the Chargers and Norv Turner and Dallas Cowboys, Ernie and Norv at the Cowboys with Troy Aikman is. He's Ernie sits back there and he's yelling, get it out, get it out, get it out. That ball needs to come out. So the whole RPO, the whole key screens, the bubble screens, which I've seen a lot of the trickle up, right? A lot of trickle up from calls. Like if you watch Kansas City, I think I could call their games. A lot of bubble screens, ball comes out quick, which Andy's he's more West Coast dude. But so that kind of fit naturally to me because of my background is when your back foot hit, that ball's out. If he's not open, you're hitching and then the ball's out and then it's checked down, So that whole philosophy.
And do you marry up maybe the drop to help the quarterback? So if it's like a 2-step, a 3-step to like depending on the route and the rhythm or the first in the progression. Yep.
It has to be. And now you watch these guys, it's totally different now because what's kind of changed quarterback mechanics is 7-on-7 leagues.
Yep.
Right. Because they stand back there and they're, popping their feet and looking around and all that stuff. I'm a rhythm throwing coach. Right. So if I'm throwing the stop route to the outside, they got to know that's 3 quick. If they're, if they're throwing the snag game, then it's a punch gather, right?
Love
it. I basically coach feet and I coach eyes. Those are the 2 things I want to coach on a quarterback, feet and eyes, right?
Yeah, and I think we got a buddy, Dub Maddox. He says in 7-on-7, if his quarterbacks start getting lazy with their footwork, he'll go under center. He said because you can't cheat it under center. In order to get there on the right timing, you got to get out. So, but I tell our DBs
that's what I grew up with, right?
Under center. Yep, 5, 7.
That's way harder. That's way harder than these shotgun guys.
Oh yeah. And I tell our DBs all the time and our linebackers, there's one thing we can't stop, and that's timing. Like if the ball's thrown perfectly in the right spot on the right timeline, it's hard unless you're playing man coverage to stop it. If you're playing any kind of zone, timing's undefeated. Timing is undefeated.
And that's the hardest thing to train a high school quarterback to do is to throw guys open, right? They want to see them open. Well, by the time you see them open, you're late. All right.
Correct.
So that's the thing I have the hardest time with my guys is being able to throw them in the windows and throw, layer balls and it just put the ball in spots, against it, especially zone, man to man is man to man. My guy's got to beat your guy and I got to put a good throw on him. Right. But all the zone drops and your different zone drops is quarterbacks trusting the concept and letting the ball go. But you're exactly right.
Coaches, we all know weekends are extremely busy between self-evaluating and game planning for the next opponent. But it doesn't have to mean long nights buried in film and spreadsheets. With optimum grading, you can cut the grind way down while actually getting better results. The platform streamlines your grading process, gives you cleaner reports, and makes it simple to share feedback with your staff, players, and even college coaches. That means less time on busy work and more time where it really counts, coaching your team, preparing for the next opponent, or even spending those extra hours with your family. Optimum Grading was built by coaches who get the grind and is designed to give you your weekends back without sacrificing the details your players need. More coaching, less paperwork. That's the optimum difference. If you're looking to take your team to the next level and save some time on the weekends, head over to OptimumGrading.com. Schedule a demo and use the promo code CoachSpeak for 10% off.
But I'm with you, Coach. I think for high school guys, especially if you can get them young enough, it's really helpful. I think because they haven't developed all these bad habits, if you will, the 7-on-7 bad habits. So you got to go in like what we do. We go in and we really train the drops. The drops are married to a rhythm route, and so if it's a 3-step slant, we're a punch one. Some guys call it a 2-step drop, and it's coming out. And we know the timing, so we'll time the receivers. It'll be like, that route's got to break open at 1.4 seconds. So our 2-step drop's got to be 1.4. If it's a 5-step glance, it's 1.8. So now we can take a punch 3 or whatever the case may be, or a bang 8.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
So
you and I would get along. You and I could coach on the same team.
And we got all this from the R4 system and the NFA stuff. So Darren Slack and all this, but that it really speaks the same language, because now it's like I have to make my decision by the time my back foot gets in the ground. And if it's not there, I can't want it to be open. I got to move on. And then
so
now
that's the whole thing about, right, pre-snap of wide vision, narrow vision.
Yes, sir.
Right. You get young quarterbacks, they want to get the ball in their hands and then start making decisions on where the ball should go, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like when you see some coverages, bro, you should know right now I can stand behind you as Skelly and I can tell you right now where the ball should go.
It can accelerate. Yeah, it can accelerate your thought process, right? Yes. Like if, hey, look, we got 3-man stick to the field, but look, man, they're rotating strong. They're going to go 3 over 3. We it's not there. Now, I'm not saying you need to go ahead and open the other way, but you need to confirm. But accelerate your eyes a little bit. Like accelerate your eyes, and then we run like a scat concept on the backside. So like, now we can accelerate that. We actually run like a glance and a swing, but it's similar, to tell our quarterbacks, look.
Shocker. Yeah. Free release the back, 3x1, free release the back, run the slant, run the stick concept to the other side.
I mean, it's just,
call it every play. Call that double scat. Now you call those. That's the only passing game you need, Jamie.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, so
you got to answer for everything.
That's right. Coach Mazzone, I know how much you love defense, so I gotta bring it in on the defense. But so coaching offense helped me become a better defense coach, because since I understand the timeline and the timing of when quick game is thrown, when RPOs are thrown, when intermediate game's thrown, that's how I teach defensive technique. So, for example, my base coverage is outside leverage with the down safeties playing some 3 match. So we do a scooch technique. They understand that within 3 scooches, if the receiver's breaking, you're breaking, because it's quick game. If he doesn't break within your 3rd scooch, either that route's not the first read or it's intermediate game. And that has made a difference at the high school level, because, when people see outside leverage match coverage, they're thinking, oh, we're going to fit the slant in there. Well, if you work breaking on quick game timing fast enough, it's a lot easier for him to try to undercut, knock it down. But it's just, it's funny how it's just full circle. Offense is built on timing. And then defense, we're going to try to defend it using timing.
You're absolutely right. And I will say this about you defensive dudes. Number one, I don't like any of you some bitches, but anyway, all right.
No doubt.
I mean, when I first started running RPOs back at ASU with Brock, right? I mean, it was unbelievable how you would pull on our pin pull in the backside. There wouldn't even be anybody. Yes. It would be like, oh my God, this is too simple. Right. And the defenses have now caught up to that and have really done a nice job of now, all that scooch stuff you're talking about and reading the coverages, fitting the run gaps and all that stuff, right?
It's definitely changed the run fits. It's like now they're fitting the run differently because of that.
Because of it. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what's funny is, Kirby Smart said in an interview one time, or it might have been Glenn Schumann, but they said, listen, there was a day and age where we were praying that people wouldn't throw it. They'd hand the fullback dive. They would do this. They said, now we want to show a too high shell to make the teams run it, because it's just so many things with space now.
Kirby said that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, and that's how like if I was playing against you and I'm game planning against you, so all I want to do is I never really look at game tape, right? I'm going to put on formation tapes because I want to know how you play formations in motion. Yes. How do you play trips, FIB trips? How do you play, quick motion? How do you play that? And then, because all I'm looking for is how can I outnumber you, right? How can I out leverage you? And where can I find space? So every formation, so the plays are like, whatever. I run the same plays, but can I line up and get you in the way I want, get you fitting it the right way for it to help me? So that's really all I look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Coach,
makes sense. I'll always look at trips. I'm a big trips, and I know Dustin is too. It's like, one, how does a team play trips? That says a lot about who you are as a defense. Are you going to rotate? Are you going to play too high? How are you going to rotate? Like that literally tells me what you think about your personnel as well. Like how are your linebackers going to push? Are you going to rotate weak? Or are you going to rotate strong and let that safety play? Or how are you going to fit the run off of that too? And then obviously formation boundary is another big one. But yeah, no doubt that speaks a lot of to what we do as well.
Is it not crazy in high school? You can go 3-by-1 bunch in the boundary and deep, especially if they're field defenses. You look out there and they'll be like, they have one dude out there.
Yeah, no
the
nickel.
corner.
Yeah, the nickel
It's
comes
the
over.
corner.
The nickel
it's
comes
a
over.
corner.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
They
But
either overload it too many and they don't have any to the field, or they have their nickel and their strong and their field corner, and it's like there's a corner out there, like it and it's.
Yeah.
But,
and then you're looking at, and Jamie's looking at and say, wait a minute, that corner of the field has to cover that dude on
that we put
2/3
out
of
there.
the field. Let's just throw it to his ass.
Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, and a lot, in our league, we play in a pretty high division in South Carolina. So a lot of coaches are really getting good. It's like it's the same thing on defense. I think offensive stuff is out there, man. These defensive coaches are getting pretty smart too, and how they're disguising and creating, different run fits to allow those guys, those apex players, to kind of hang on a little bit longer. They can kind of spill to the apex and that kind of thing.
Do you have any do any of the guys out there play any much that Iowa State defense, the 3 safety?
We haven't seen 3. North Carolina, there were some teams in North Carolina this past couple of years that would do like the 3-3 stack and then the 3 high safety stuff, and you're like, man, you're playing like dime personnel, and it's like, man, we're just going to load up some tight ends and see if your star can play non-technique, But yeah, we get a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I hate 3-down teams. They're a pain in the
Is that
ass.
because the run game, coach, or is that because the multiple, they can drop, they can bring them, they can.
Well, if you think about it, because I want to live in 3-by-1s against that, because most 3-down teams are 5.5, 5.5, right? But there's really 7 dudes that have the ability to pressure you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to really say, okay, I'm going to handle these guys, but there's a possibility on this side that they're going to have more than I can block or
Yeah. It really, we just had one this past week where, they were a 3-4 team, and they would reduce some to the boundary, and then they would drop, and then they would do some stunt work, and then they did a really good job this past week on trying to disguise it. And it really, everything coverage wise was okay, but there was the pass protection that we were having to fit and make sure that we were okay with. And that was kind of the biggest. Yeah, it is a big challenge for us.
I want just 4 down guys and a mic. You got those 4 in a mic, and I can handle the other 2.
You mean I got to keep my eyes up, and then they're bringing corner blitzes and like bailing guys? Like, what are we doing here? But no, it gives some problems.
Coach, I've always loved putting a tight end in versus odd, because you'll see real quick how fast they get out of odd, or they at least have to present it now like even, because they got to press or they got to slide the front or something. Like you said, trips and tight end, quickest way to get an odd team uncomfortable, because now they have to.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I'm going to build all the 3-by-1s I can, and I'm going to cross out that outside backer, one of the outside backers with an inline tight end. Okay, now I got a blocker for him. I got a pass blocker for him. I got all that stuff. Now I only have to worry about the other dude. Yeah, you're right. Exactly right.
So how many plays do you think you bring into a game? Is it like 30, 35? How many just total thing? Like, talk about your guardrails throughout the week, because I feel like I have guardrails in my offensive system, but sometimes I feel like sometimes I don't have enough. Like, man, do I have enough answers here? Or like, talk to us about your mindset on that.
So like I went I kind of started this years ago when I read Brian Billick's book, right? And Walsh's book about, how many 3rd and shorts do you actually get a call in a football game, right? How many 3rd and 2 to 6s do you get a call in a football? how many goal line plays. I mean, I've played multiple games and never had to call a goal line play because I wasn't inside. You know what I mean? So it's all time on task. Okay, so so he kind of had did all the numbers. I know it was NFL numbers, but it's very similar.
Mhm.
Okay, but to the high school level. All right. It's a little bit more in college because with all the tempo now, I'm used to getting 85 to 100 plays in a game. Okay, but it's like, okay, I'm only gonna get 3 to 5 third and medium calls in a game. That's it. Okay. Well, I want one of those to be a run, maybe one to be a play action. So that gives me 2. All right. Gives me 2 third down calls. Okay. What are they doing on third down? All right. Here's my couple ways I can get to these 2 concepts. So I on my game. So I have my call sheet, and it's built that way. When I start the game plan, I start to put plays in. So there's 3 third and short plays. There's, I think, 5 third and 3 to 6. There's 3 third and 7 pluses, right? And then same on the red zone, high, mid, low, and goal line. Is that I try to limit the number of lines, the number of spaces I've got. So once I fill them up, I'm done. Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
And you probably do it the same way.
Yeah, very similar. That way we don't have too much stuff that we're trying to practice. It's like,
Right.
and I think about third down, like really it comes down like, what are we really good at? And then maybe what are some ways that we can make sure there's the least amount of variables that the defense can give us from a formation standpoint. So if I want to run a particular concept, I want to try to shift or motion or maybe line up in something. I know we're probably going to get this and it's probably going to come open. That's kind of where we're at too. So I have like 3 or 4 that for each.
Yeah.
For each, yes, sir.
I do the same thing. I do the same
Yeah.
thing. So the question was how many I go into. It depends. Like I'm so like in the last, let me see, my last year coaching in college was 4 years ago. So the last 4 years, I pick a team in Phoenix and I go volunteer as their offensive coordinator every year, right?
Mm.
And so the one I'm doing this year, they were 1-9 last year. Right. And they're like, it's a lot. I mean, they got a long ways to go. So I started that way. And I said, these guys are doing like a lot of stuff, not very good. So I actually went into this last week game with 16 total calls
Oh, wow.
in
Yeah.
my call sheet. Right.
Mhm.
And they scored 45 points.
Wow. Just got
So
good at
I'm
what
like,
they were supposed to. Yeah.
because it was stuff that they'd been, it was the base stuff that they'd been running since camp, right? It wasn't like
Exactly.
I didn't try to game plan with moving guys and all because it was just too much for them. I just said, guys, we're just going to line up. You guys know how to run this concept. You've been running forever. I'm just going to call
Mhm.
these plays. And you could see them starting to gain confidence and feeling good about it and lights were starting to go on.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Man,
I think so too. I think I think every year we kind of go through the same thing. It's like, what is your identity? What are the things that you can execute well? And then, and trying to figure that out in 1 year is sometimes
Mhm.
kind of tough, especially if you're trying to run the ball and and you don't know until August
Yeah.
what you can run. And so that I think in the run game, that can, I think it's harder, obviously up front to figure that out. But once you
I
do it,
know.
man, they get
I
more
know.
confident.
I feel your pain, Jamie. I know. I don't have it here, right? But this is you're in it's summer. You ain't doing ball. You're at Cabo for the week, drinking pina coladas, and I promise you have a notebook and you're drawing plays, right? Or you're watching some films and you're saying, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's cool," and you'll have 85 pages of all these new concepts, right?
Yes.
And so you
Yes.
start camp, you're like, "Man, I want to try this," and then like about 2 weeks into camp, you're like, "Screw it. This is what I know. This is what I'm calling," right?
Exactly. We're not good at any of this crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't
Yeah.
running any of that stuff.
That's awesome.
I do the same thing every year. Like I was watching the Dolphins last year. What's the guy, Mike McDaniel, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And he had like this because you are who you are, Jamie.
Mhm.
You know your offense. You are who you are, right? You're
Mhm.
not Mike McDaniel. I'm not Mike McDaniel, right? But he had that whole series where he was handing the ball back and had all this kind of play action. And I studied it. I drew it all up. Man, this is great. I'm going to use this. It lasted about 6 practices and that threw that shit away.
That's right. It's like all the Shanahan stuff. Like, I'm going to go wide zone and I'm going to go play action. I'm like, wait a minute. High school linebackers aren't that good to like fit,
Yeah.
so play action sucks in high school.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've seen a good play action concept in a long time in high school football because they're not as aggressive. It's just funny.
And the OL give it away immediately. Like they're the worst play action. Like they're pass setting. They're not sell and run at all.
Yeah.
No.
Well, guys, before we move into the next segment, we want to take this part of the episode. It is also brought to you by Team Builder, the premier strength and conditioning software for coaches at every level. Just like Coach Mazzone simplifies the game plan so players can play fast, Team Builder simplifies the weight room so your athletes can train with a purpose. You can deliver custom programs right to your athlete's phone, track their progress, and keep everyone accountable, all in one platform. Here's the best part. Team Builder has given Coach Speak listeners an exclusive 30-day free trial, plus a ready-to-use in-season football program template you can plug in today. Head to teambuilder.com, sign up with the promo code CoachSpeak, start running a cleaner, more efficient weight room immediately. And that's Team Builder for you, a software built for coaches who want to win in the weight room, but also on the field.
Coach, talk to us a little about quarterback how do you teach the quarterback? I know we talked about it a little bit, but how do you teach, let's talk about the space on the field. Do you go like middle of the field closed, middle of the field open? What do you kind of tell him to kind of look at as he's trying to establish a framework for that concept to work maybe?
So here's the hardest thing, and I have to remind him for weeks, right? So like I'm a split safety, post safety, wide vision guy, okay? Because I think, I don't start at the front, okay? I want to start at the back, and I want to say, okay, are there 2 deep safeties or there 1? So like I'll ask my quarterbacks, after playing skill, I say, hey, so what was it? And they need to say it was split safety or post safety. I don't want them to say it's cover 2, it's cover 6, it's cover 4, right? Because I don't know. But I do know this, that there's 2 deep safeties or there's 1 deep safety, because it could be all those variables in that coverage. Just like Coach said, all the different variables of cover 4, right? Well, if you can't, in the short amount of time you have, you can't dissect that. But what they'll start to do is once they start, that's the wide vision piece, right? Then if they start to where they start training their eyes to look at the wide vision and kind of get an overview, it's split safety, doesn't look like any, then they'll start going, does it look like any no, there doesn't look like any pressure. Oh, wait, I see the nickels outside number 2 and 3x1 and the safety. I start to see the safeties kind of at different levels. Oh, what are they probably going to do? Oh, they're probably going to go to 3 buzz. So they'll start to learn tells, right? That's the only way that's the easiest way for me. They can start seeing body language of defenders in tells. So this is the story. I got another story. I'm an old man. So old man.
I love it, Coach.
I have 9.
Coach,
I have my 10th grandchild coming. So I got to tell stories all the time, right? So I tell them it's like this, all right? I said, when you go to the club, all right? The club, man, the band's playing, it's packed, there's stuff going on. What's the first thing you do when you walk in the door? You take a wide vision. You look around, you go, all right, no problems. I don't see any ex-girlfriends in here. Oh, I like the band. It doesn't look like, there's like guys that are going to fight, or there's going to be, this looks like I am comfortable, right? So that's what wide vision, it makes you comfortable. Like there's no problems. Okay. Then what's the next thing you do? Well, you take a wide vision. Okay, I'm cool. I know what's going on here. Then you see that hot girl sitting at the bar, right? Then what happens? Then you got narrow vision, because you zero in on that, and now nothing else matters out there. So that's how I want him to look at the defense, right? Hey, wide vision. Okay, I know the will backer. It's 2-man snag. The will backer is that hot girl, right? That's the one that's going to make my decision in my progression. All right. Or the corner rolled up in 2-man snag, right? Well, I don't want to throw the snag game over there. I'm gonna go throw the stick side on the other side. So I think I think it's like a computer. Like you have to put it in to their brains in the way you want it to come out.
Sure.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Well, split safety. What's your hot? Will. What's your alert? Oh, cover 2. Throw the stick, So I want him to think. I don't want him to ever think in sentences. I just want him to have key words that he knows, that so he can just go down the checklist on where he has to go.
Coach, I'm gonna have to steal that from you because, without ever thinking about it like that, that's exactly how we teach defense on our side of the ball. It's wide vision. Got to see the family they're in, the formation they're in, and then you have a narrow vision of
Exactly.
what is your keys, where should your eyes be, and the analogy, I love it. Like that is spot on.
I
And the
do
thing
too. I
about
like
it
it.
is, like, kids will understand that. Hey man, you walk into a party, a pool party, you're looking who's all here, and then there's one specific
That's what
person.
they do, right?
You're there. I
Yeah.
think man, Coach, that's great. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, I like it too. Well, it gives the kids a lot of confidence in what they're looking at. I mean, there's so many things on the field that, you got mom and dad screaming at you on the, in the stands. You got the
Oh my
cheerleaders
God,
over
yeah.
there. You got the coaches that are, you got all kinds of crap. But like, if you just narrow it down to, okay, wide vision, what is it likely going to be post snap? And then that narrow vision of like, what are the key defenders here that are likely going to make you make a decision? I love that. We
Exactly.
do something very similar. Like we even teach like basic coverages. So like cover 4, what do we want to do here? We want to attack the flats, right? Cover 3, we want to attack the seams. Cover 2. And so, but we don't get all in the weeds on that like you, coach. Like we're the same. It's like we don't necessarily care if it's cover 2, cover 6, but we want to make sure that kid knows, okay, if it's too high, the stick side it's probably going to come open unless they
Like,
cloud the field, that kind of thing.
like it just like baffles us, right? Because we live it, we do it every day.
Mhm.
But it took like weeks until the kid finally understood. If you're in a spread set and there's 2 high safeties there, and there's no attached tight end, you can only have 5 in the box. That's it. They run out of numbers. If there's
Mhm.
6 guys, somebody is getting a key screen, right?
Mhm.
So it's all
Yep.
about numbers, right? If there's 6 in the box, I promise you it's post safety. All right. Or it better be, or if they're looking high
There's
and
a
the
flat
Will
open. Yep.
Backer's tucked in,
Somebody's
they're going to
open.
buzz the safety down to you.
Correct.
Yep.
So it's just those simple, like
There's
little
bubbles of
keys.
space. Yep. Yeah, we talk
Yes.
about bubbles of
Yes.
space all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
there's always going to be so many bubbles. We talk about 4 open spaces. And for us, we use the R4 system. There's 15 spaces on the field, and so there's 11 defenders. So we always think about there's like 4 spaces minimum. Now, if they overcorrect or if they miss a line, they could be more spaces. But yeah, I mean, there's so many spaces in the box, like as far as gaps go, and there's spaces in the flats, and there's these vertical spaces too. So we talk all about that. And I don't care how they end up, there's always somebody going to be open. It's our job to try to get that
Exactly.
receiver in there. So
Exactly.
I
And
love it.
Coach,
I
So
love it.
I think, I think, now having been in the high schools for the last couple of years, see, a good thing when you're in college or the NFL, if a guy couldn't read that, I'd go sign somebody else, right? You know, but the quarterbacks in today's game in college, because of the portal, right? That kid may show up the day before spring ball, and you got to get him ready to play South
Yes, sir.
Carolina, right? That you don't have that luxury of training them and being with them. And by his second year, he understands everything. So I think quarterbacks in today's game in college have all become read and react guys, right?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Give them a
Yep.
quick read, get the ball out, and just react to what you see that guy do. Get the ball out, read an end, get the ball out. As far as like back in the old days, we used to you had when you're under center, Dustin. Back in the old days, right? They taught you your first 3 steps on a 7-step drop was you were watching the strong safety to see if he rolled, went deep, and then you had to go find the mic.
Yep.
Then you found the mic. You had to read all these dudes, right? But now you're standing back there. We don't do that anymore. So I think so. Teaching them to play with their eyes is like the hardest thing I have to teach these guys, and because they don't get taught it, they just don't get taught to get to them. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm a big stickler in is I'm a huge for my quarterbacks. I'm a huge body language dude.
Sure.
All right, and that's what I learned from Phillip Rivers. Right, it didn't. I mean, you convey so much about our football team. All right, by how you act as a court. You can be a knucklehead linebacker, Dustin. Sorry, and people expect it. You can be a crybaby receiver, right? And pout.
Yeah.
People expect it. But if you're a knucklehead or a powder at quarterback, it shows your whole team. It shows your ass for your whole team. So I'm on those guys about how they react to every situation, incompletions, drop balls, all that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
That's just
And
what
coach,
I like.
to add on to what you were just saying about the tails for the quarterback, about, if there's 6 in the box, somebody's spinning, you know what I mean? So something we try to do, we try to teach our kids defensively. There's 3 basically things we can do. We can be minus in the box, we can be neutral in the box, or we can be +1 in the box. And we try to defensively show you the same exact thing pre-snap every time, because if
And that's
we
the
go
hardest.
Yep, because if we go 4-2 and both backers are within the tackles, it's probably going to be one high stuff. However, that's where, like, me and my buddy who worked together the last 2 years, who was the offensive coordinator, we talked about, okay, listen, if we're seeing a split field safety team and they're 4-2 in the box and they're not playing at least 0 on the backside, you need to throw stick or scat until the cows come home, because they're not
Yeah.
aligned correctly in the boundary. And so when you taught that, it kind of resonated with me, but it's just, it can be that simple. What are the tails? Wide vision, narrow
Yeah,
vision.
you're right. And let me tell you what the hard one is, from an offensive guy talking, right, is for you to show me split safety and have 5 in the box, but you end up with an extra run fit guy in there, and it's not the backer, it's the quartered safety, right?
Yes.
So I see a lot of guys doing that. They're playing that invert, right? The invert 2 stuff.
Yes, sir.
That
Yep.
that is very hard on spread offenses.
Mhm.
And the other one is very hard on offenses is split safety looks in freaking trap corners. I hate trap corners. They
We
take
see
your
a
key
lot of that in
game.
high school. Yeah, I think
Yeah, they
that's
take
the
your
most
key game
common.
away. They
Yeah.
take your stretch plays away, because you never count him, right?
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate
No,
trap
we
corners.
we see it a ton, and one of the things that we've tried to do, I guess, the last couple years is really just do a lot of vertical switch against that.
Yeah,
2x2 vertical switch above the hard deck and just try to out leverage the corner, because that's really the one you can't run sail, can't run your quick game like your smash stuff. But we just try to run a lot of vertical switch and just try to out leverage it, because that's the only way that we can really
I
mess with
know
that
it's
corner.
hard.
I mean,
It's
it's
hard.
definitely difficult, especially if they're really good at it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely vertical switches above the hard deck has been good for us. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
Tough one.
You ready for a rapid fire, Jamie?
Yeah, coach. So every episode, every guest we have, we do a couple rapid fire kind of off the cuff questions that, just trying
All
to get
right.
our listeners to know you a little bit more. But we'll throw a couple at
Yeah.
you. Dustin, you got the first one.
All right, coach, I'm gonna get into it immediately. You're a story guy, which I love. What do you think one of the funniest coaching memories you've had on the sideline? Just one of the funniest memories.
The funniest one I had on the sideline. Oh my God, there's so many of them. I'd have to think of what the
Now, do you
funniest
coach on the sideline? Do you call it from the sideline, or do you call it from the box?
sideline. I always been on the
I'm
sideline.
a sideline guy too.
Yeah, I wanna choke my quarterback out. I want to be able to get my hands on him at times, right?
That's awesome.
So this is I'm at UCLA, and I'd have to think about, but this one always tickles me, right? Is so so in the Rose Bowl, you go when you go in the locker room, there's this tunnel, and the seats are up here like this, right? And at that point, we were rolling pretty good, like rolling. I mean, we were winning 9-10 games with Jim Mora was our head coach,
Heck yeah.
and we had some lot Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks, Miles Jack. I mean, we were a good football team, and so every game it didn't fail, right? Is that at halftime I'd come running in like this, and there was always this old Mexican guy that always sat in the same spot right there, right? And as I was jogging by, he would yell the same thing at me every game. He'd go, Coach Mazzone, just call the ones that work. Just call the ones that work, right? So this
That's
happened for
awesome.
the whole season, right? So finally, the last game, and I forget, we beat somebody pretty good there. The last game, I at halftime, I stopped and I go, come on. I brought him down and I said, come on, you and I are going to go in there and you tell me the ones you like, the ones that are working. And I took him in the locker room.
That is awesome. Made his life, I'm
Freaking
sure.
wild.
That
Yeah,
is awesome.
I bet he tells people and they do not believe him that happened. That's hilarious. That's awesome. So I know you've been to a lot of places. This might be a tough one, but what's your favorite stop? So far in
Okay,
your coaching journey, you've been a lot of
living or
places.
football? To live or
Either one.
or
Let's do
football?
both. Let's do both.
Okay, of all the places I've been, what you're talking about, like Ole Miss will always have a soft spot in my heart because it was my first coordinator's job in 1996. And by the way, when I took the job in 1996 as the coordinator at Ole Miss, I had Deuce McAllister and I had Terrence Metcalf. DK's dad was my guard. You know, I had Matt Luke, the offensive line coach for, I think Matt's at Clemson now, right? He was my center. All right. And I'll tell you, I'll go back and tell you a quick story about that. That's his freshman year. But anyway, that was a song about the coolest football atmosphere, place, town, everything was College Station. And Auburn was great. Ole Miss was great. But when you walk over this, when you're at my house, I lived in Bryan, so I was like 2 or 3 miles away, and you could see the lights of the stadium over on campus. And Friday night, you could hear yell practice at my house. There'd be 70,000 people in there at midnight practicing their yells. And they have so many cool traditions there. It was just, it was like the cool place. Now, the place I enjoyed coaching, I really enjoyed coaching, but where I loved living was when I coached at UCLA, I lived in Hermosa Beach. Now, come on.
Slick.
Manhattan Beach,
nice.
Hermosa Beach. I spent.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
that's
that was
wild, man.
That is awesome.
It's pretty dang
that is
cool.
awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Coach, what we created this podcast because like you mentioned earlier, there's just so much scheme and X's and O's out there that's just so accessible. But we wanted to make this personable, bring guys on like you on and just chalk it up and talk and hear stories. But we also wanted to provide, resources that you can't get easy to access. And so what is one thing you wish that you knew as a young coach that you think listeners could benefit from?
That when I was younger growing up?
Yeah, what do you wish you if you could go back 20, 30 years and tell your young coach self what you should do or who you should be or how you should get there, what would you say?
Well, that's an interesting question. I actually thought about this the other day. So I became a coordinator in 96. I went Ole Miss, then we went to Auburn, then I went to Oregon State, then I went to NC State, then I went back to Ole Miss. So I think it was 2005 I went to the Jets. So I was 10 years. I was an offensive coordinator in the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pretty good conference, right? So I ended up doing 14 years of being a coordinator in the SEC, right? And I went to the Jets, and the time I had Lavernius Coles, Brett Favre had come in, Chad Pennington was a quarterback, then Brett came in, I had Jericho Cotchery, Brian. How about this? In our staff room, right? Brian Dayball was the quarterback coach. I was the receiver coach. Brian Schottenheimer was the offensive coordinator. Bill Callahan was the O-line coach, right? So that was the room I sat in, all right? And when you get up there, it was like you don't have to recruit. You don't have to go to booster meetings. You don't have to go speak at clinics. You don't do anything. It's just ball. But I learned so much about the details of the game that I'd never, after all the places I'd been, that I didn't know, and I would have made me such a better coach because I was worried about I was more worried about when I was a coordinator about the what instead of the how. Right? I learned about how important the how was to your players and how important practice was to your players. I just thought, oh man, I'm SC coordinator. I'll draw up some pretty cool plays this week for Alabama or whatever, and they'll work. Well, I learned no, because they're pretty good players up in that league, right? And it's all about your players. Players win football games. Plays don't win football games. So I learned the importance of your players as opposed to the plays and I became a better coordinator because of that.
Coach, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a good one to end on. I think we can. It seems like that's the case at all stops. For me too, and I'm sure Dust can speak to that as well. It's like there's a balance between, what do we do, how much do we do it, and then, man, do we know the details well enough to teach our kids that to execute effectively?
And that's our job. Our job is to go find the guy who can give me the details, right?
Exactly. And that's why we got you on, Coach.
Yeah. So our A&M, my offensive analyst at A&M was Kevin Patullo, who's now the coordinator for the Eagles, right?
Wow.
And he had been in the league for a while. And so, and I was up. So like I knew when he would go watch film, awesome dude, right? Loves ball, right? And very, very smart, but he would study it. I knew when he walked in my office to give me something like, hey, against whoever we were playing, Texas or whoever we were playing, right? Hey, here's the 2 red zone concepts that we need to put in this week for those guys, right? It was like, okay, that we're putting them in. How do you coach it, right? What's the splits? All right. The splits were important. The types of motions were important. The footwork was important. The releases were important. Okay. Like we never wanted the same, we want, if you're going to take the same split, you better have multiple release points on your releases, just all those little things I never knew. And so that was kind of cool.
Coach, I think that's a great point for our listeners and something to remind and ground us in still, I'm only 30 years old, but I'm hoping to have another 40 years in this profession at minimum, but just to remember the details, and I think there's a good balance with everything. Everybody argues, is it culture versus scheme? Well, it takes both. You got to have a culture and you got to have scheme, but to your point is sometimes it's about who's doing what you're asking, not what you're asking. If that makes sense, it's, we can draw the perfect play up, but at the end of the day, it's all who's executing what you're asking to do. But Coach, this has been a joy for me, and we were excited to get you on here, and I know our listeners are going to love this one. Can't wait to get up to Memphis. We need to come sit down at clinic.
If I'd known it was this much fun, I would have answered your DM, your direct message a lot sooner. Like, who's this guy from?
We're a bunch of randos.
Yeah, where is this guy from? And a podcast back there? What's going on?
No, we're a bunch of random guys just trying to learn about football. And Coach, that speaks a lot about you and your character to, you've been everywhere. You don't need to talk to us for an hour,
Right.
We
and
really
this is what I want to leave you young coaches with this too, right? So like I've been blessed, all right? You're going to find out at some point you may not be done with coaching, but coaching may be done with you. Okay. It's become a young man's game, which I get. We all, it's just, of course, that's just the evolution of the profession. Right. But it's given me an awesome my family, my boys, my 3 kids grew up in it, my grandkids. Right. I've met some great friends. I've had a chance to I've got over 100 guys that were drafted. Right. And I've got, so many good friends. I mean, guys that I coached at Ole Miss in 1996 are still calling me, inviting me to go to Cabo for the weekend with them, right? So, the friendships you build and the relationships you build, you can't put a price on. And so, my drive right now is that for all that I've been blessed and they've given me, is I really want to give back to the game that's given me so much. And so that's why I've got, my NZone system on the website. In fact, right before I called you, I had 4 guys. I was Google driving call sheets and stuff out because at some point, there was coaches that shared with me, right? And I learned from, and so I want to give back. I want to give back to the game for everything it's given me. And what you guys are doing is so cool. I who would ever thought when I was 30 years old, we didn't know what the word podcast meant, right? Okay. But for you guys to get on and take your time and do this, and I think it's very cool, and my hat's off to you guys.
My hat's off to you, Coach, for taking the time for a couple of no-name high school coaches, and
no doubt.
But we learned a lot from you, Coach, and hopefully we'll reach back out. Maybe we can pick your brain on some more of those details.
Hey, Jamie, just don't invite Dustin though. The defense.
The defensive guys. We'll leave them.
You and I will talk offense all night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Will do.
That's fun.
Well, guys, it's been great having you on. And
you got my number, both of you. If there's any way I can ever help you, all you got to do is pick the phone up and call me.
It might be a clinic call. We'll see.
Whatever you need, just give me a call. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right,
guys. Thank you guys for
good luck this Friday.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Remember, check out Team Builder for a 30-day free trial. We have a template in there that has our full football in-season programming. You can use promo code CoachSpeak. Also, don't forget about Pro Quick Draw 7-day free trial as well.
And make sure head over to R4 Football Systems. Anything on the website, 10% off with the promo code CoachSpeak as well. There's a lot of great things on there. We've been doing the R4 Film Mastery Toolkit throughout the year, and it's really given us a competitive advantage. See y'all.
Optimum grading as well.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach Speak podcast. If you're interested in being a guest speaker on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at coachspeakpodcast1@gmail.com. And if you have a question for our Q&A segment, don't forget to submit it through the form in the episode description. We appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.